Ladies and gentlemen, we are, sorry, my phone. Giving a speech seems kind of important. TTYL, love you bunches. But first, let me take a selfie. Yeah. Good. Folks, we are addicted. You may call it Candy Crush or Bejeweled. I say it's crystal meth. You may have known of him as Steve Jobs in his time. Well, I say he was Heisenberg. Breaking Bad, anyone? And you may have heard of Flappy Bird or Angry Bird, whatever kind of bird, I don't care. I say it's the avian flu. But it's not so much mobile gaming that's destroyed us. No, social networking and text messaging have become the primary form of our communication. And for that, we have suffered. I believe that this technological temptation has crippled our communication on two major levels. Number one, the microsocial level, or the you and the me. And number two, the macrosocial level, or the big picture. Today, I'll explain to you how this has affected us on those two levels, and how we might be able to unplug ourselves from this matrix. Mr. Anderson. Point number one, the microsocial level. A professor of mine once said that today we see the world through the light of tiny gadgets. And while I was ignoring him, scrolling through pictures on Instagram of the world, I started to think, this guy might be onto something. You should be a professor! But I needed to know more. So I did a little research. I went to Google. And folks, I gotta tell you, some of the 14 million pages of results, well, they just might shock you. Did you know that 58% of American cell phone owners cannot go an hour without checking their phones? Did you also know that 30% use their phones while enjoying a meal with another person? Did you also know that 24% use their phone while driving, and nearly 10% use their phone during a religious service in a house of worship? I mean, good Lord. Folks, we are on our phones as soon as we get up in the morning, all throughout the day, before we go to bed at night, and sometimes while we're lying in bed. Now, how is this crippling our communication? One would think that if we're always on a piece of technology made to advance our communication, that we would be brought closer together, right? Well, right? Wrong! According to a Pew Internet Research Survey, nearly 13% of all American cell phone owners have pretended to use their phones to avoid a conversation with another human being. What's worse is that that number jumps to nearly 30% among American cell phone owners between the ages of 18 to 29. Now folks, I don't know about you, but to me that number seems kind of small. 30%? Really? I'm sure we've all done it at least at one point. You see someone approaching you who you don't really know how to interact with. You're afraid to make any eye contact. And so you have a moment of panic where you reach for your phone. Oh crap, just checking the time, yeah, just got a text message. Hey, what's up, Mom? Yeah, mooses are green, and he's gone. It happens. But like it or not, this statistic might have inspired Aaron Sorkin to write a sequel to his 2010 film. And he would call it The Antisocial Network. What's better than 1 million friends? No friends. Go away. You guys are still here? Oh, okay. Point number two, then. CNN reported on August 31st, 2012, that of America's 300 million population, 270 million of us have cell phones. Now folks, we have clicked the keys more than we have dialed the tones. Americans sent over 188 million text messages in the year 2010. People, that is a 4-year-old statistic. Those numbers have only continued to climb with the release of the iPhone 5. This is not an iPhone 5, but I wish to have one. But folks, we're not alone in this, thankfully. The United States is not the only one sending all these text messages. In fact, the United Nations announced that 91% of this globe has access to mobile phones. Now, the corporations have caught on to this, clearly. The global mobile pioneers Verizon and T-Mobile, they have already established plans that do not require voice communication. So, when it comes to, say, your mother's birthday, you can text her the sincere and thoughtful words, HPYB Day, Mom, parenthesis. Now, in other news, I will candidly admit to toilet texting from time to time. But I'm not the only one. In fact, 39% of American cell phone owners have clenched their smartphones while seated on the golden throne. But it gets real, folks. Nay, it hits the fan. The United Nations also announces that of the world's estimated 7 billion population, 6 billion of us have cell phones, but only 4.5 billion of us have access to a working toilet. I suppose that when the question is asked whether we prefer 2-ply in our hands or an iPhone, we seem to choose the shiniest of two turds. Either way, it's all the same crap. Poo puns intended. Let's talk about solutions now. After we've wiped, flushed, and thoroughly washed our hands of this shame, what can we do? If you think I'm suggesting that we just give up cell phones, well, you can guess again. Of course we can't give up cell phones. It's completely impractical. Not only have we invested too much of our own money into these things to just give them up, but I don't know if you've picked up on this yet or not, but our lives revolve around them. Think about it. We bank with them, email with them, shop with them, order things with them. We do everything with them. And they're not bad to have in case of a real emergency. Thankfully, though, some businesses have already prohibited certain activities with cell phones. In fact, New York City restaurants have told its patrons not to take photos of their food. A non-existent chef was never quoted as saying, look, no matter how many filters you use, our food still tastes the same. You say art, I say tomato. Well, that's great for New York restaurant owners and such. But what about us? What can we do? Folks, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. See this flap right here? It's called a pocket. Heck, you might have seen one around. Heck, you probably have one with you right now. The nifty thing about this pocket is that your phone fits right in there. No hands. And the best part, I mean, it just blows my mind. Since we live in the 21st century, our phones do this thing where when someone needs to get a hold of us, they beep, vibrate, ring, whatever you want, so you know when to take it out of your pocket. I mean, it just blows my mind. Listen, just because your phone is always on you, doesn't mean you always have to be on it. In conclusion, yeah, we're addicted. But like it or not, the relationship is kind of unhealthy. In fact, the awkward silence has enjoyed its greatest popularity since the smartphone came out. Am I right? Because smartphones are dumb. Hashtag awkward silence. In the grand scheme of things, perhaps it is more important to focus on the world that is around us, rather than on the one that is in our hands. Because while we may try to stay connected, we may just be missing out on the connection of a lifetime. Thank you.